What if I told you that a book written nearly 2,000 years ago could change the way you think forever? These are the private thoughts of Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world, written not for fame but for himself. What you're about to hear may change your life. The second book. Remember how long thou hast already put off these things, and how often certain day and hour as were having been set unto thee by the gods, thou hast neglected. Is high time for thee to understand the true nature, both of the world whereof thou art part, and of that Lord and Governor of the world, from whom, as a channel from the spring, thou thyself didst flow, and that there is but a certain limit of time appointed unto thee, which if thou shalt not make use of, to calm and allay the many distempers of thy soul, it will pass away and thou with it, and never after return. 2. Let it be thy earnest and incessant care as a Roman and a man to perform whatsoever it is that thou art about, with true and unfeigned gravity, natural affection, freedom and justice. And as for all other cares and imaginations, how thou mayest ease thy mind of them, which thou shalt do, if thou shalt go about every action as thy last action, free from all vanity, all passionate and willful aberration from reason, and from all hypocrisy and self-love and dislike of those things, which by the fates or appointment of God have happened unto thee. Thou sayest that those things, which for a man to hold on in a prosperous course, and to live a divine life are requisite and necessary, are not many, for the gods will require no more of any man, that shall but keep and observe these things. 3. Do soul. 10. Do abuse and contemn thyself, yet a while and the time for thee to respect thyself will be at an end. Every man's happiness depends from himself, but, behold, thy life is almost at an end, whiles affording thyself no respect, thou dost make thy happiness to consist in the souls and conceits of other men. For why should any of these things that happen externally so much distract thee? Give thyself leisure to learn some good thing, and cease roving and wandering to and fro. Thou must also take heed of another kind of wandering, for they are idle in their actions who toil and labor in this life, and have no certain scope to which to direct all their motions and desires. V. For not observing the state of another man's soul, scarce was ever any man known to be unhappy. Tell whosoever they be that intend not, and guide not by reason and discretion the motions of their own souls, they must of necessity be unhappy. 6. These things thou must always have in mind. What is the nature of the universe? And what is mine in particular? This unto that what relation it hath, what kind of part of what kind of universe it is, and that there is nobody that can hinder thee, but that thou mayest always both do and speak those things which are agreeable to that nature whereof thou art a part. 10. Do soul. 6. If the received reading be right, it must be sarcastic, but there are several variants which show how unsatisfactory it is. C. Translates epsilon gamma rho beta omicron epsilon kappa sigma tau omega omega pi alpha rho epsilon alpha upsilon tau, which I do not understand. The sense required is, do not violence to thyself, for thou hast not long to use self-respect. Life is not v1 omicron long for each, and this life for thee is all but done. 7. Theophrastus, where he compares sin with sin as after a vulgar sense such things I grant may be compared, says well and like a philosopher, that those sins are greater which are committed through lust than those which are committed through anger. For he that is angry seems with a kind of grief and close contraction of himself to turn away from reason, but he that sins through lust, being overcome by pleasure, doth in his very sin bewray a more impotent and unmanlike disposition. Well then, and like a philosopher doth he say, that he of the two is the more to be condemned, that sins with pleasure, than he that sins with grief. For indeed this latter may seem first to have been wronged, and so in some manner through grief thereof to have been forced to be angry, whereas he who through lust doth commit anything, did of himself merely resolve upon that action. 8. Whatsoever thou dost effect, whatsoever thou dost project, so do and so project. All as one who, for aught thou knowest, may at this very present depart out of this life. And as for death, if there be any gods, it is no grievous thing to leave the society of men. The gods will do thee no hurt, thou mayest be sure. But if it be so that there be no gods, or that they take no care of the world, why should I desire to live in a world void of gods, and of all divine providence? But gods there be certainly, and they take care for the world. And as for those things which be truly evil, as vice and wickedness, such things they have put in a man's own power, that he might avoid them if he would. And had there been anything besides that had been truly bad and evil, they would have had a care of that also, that a man might have avoided it. But why should that be thought to hurt and prejudice a man's life in this world, which cannot any ways make man himself the better or the worse in his own person? Neither must we think that the nature of the universe did either through ignorance pass these things, or if not as ignorant of them, yet as unable either to prevent or better to order and dispose them. Cannot be that she through want either of power or skill should have committed such a thing, so as to suffer all things both good and bad equally and promiscuously to happen unto all both good and bad. As for life, therefore, and death, honor and dishonor, labor and pleasure, riches and poverty, all these things happen unto men indeed, both good and bad equally, but as things which of themselves are neither good nor bad, because of themselves, neither shameful nor praiseworthy. 9. Consider how quickly all things are dissolved and resolved, the bodies and substances themselves, into the matter and substance of the world, and their memories, into the general age and time of the world. Consider the nature of all worldly sensible things, of those especially, which either ensnare by pleasure, or for their irksomeness, are dreadful, or for their outward luster and show are in great esteem and request. How vile and contemptible, how base and corruptible, how destitute of all true life and being they are. X. It is the part of a man endowed with a good understanding faculty to consider what they themselves are in very deed, from whose bare conceits and voices honor and credit do proceed. 11. As also what it is to die, and how if a man shall consider this, by itself alone to die, and separate from it in his mind all those things which with it